The teacher development time is a period of time that we can give back to teachers. And the whole idea was that it should be ring-fenced around learning and CPD and opportunities. So we wanted to have some time. It's about 2 hours a week that is given over to teachers to do their own professional learning that is self-led. So we want our teachers to be able to choose their reading, engage with research, have time to reflect as well, not just keep doing all the time. So teacher development time is also about having the time to reflect and apply and practice learning and put the things that they've learned into practice. So teacher development time came from years of seeing teachers struggle with initiatives. Year upon year, teachers are expected to learn more and more. Children are far more complex. We're expected to reach higher standards, and rightly so, with our children, so that they can be successful in the world. But in England, we have such front-facing teachers where they are teaching for the vast majority of their time. If you compare that to other countries, the next country I think is the US, and they have 6 hours of non-contact time, and we only have 2. So therefore, how can we expect our teachers to deliver new and innovative learning, to learn EdTech, to learn all the research about supporting SEND children? How can we expect that? Because we're just burning staff out. And so it came about by seeing really good professionals who were giving up far too much of their personal time to try to learn and try to keep up, and then they were tired and they were affected their lessons the next day because they were too tired to then apply the learning or to prepare the lessons or move and adapt to the children in front of them. So it just struck me that we had to do something. So what we did as a trust was call all our leaders together and say, okay, this is a problem that has to be solved. We have limits with funding, we have limits with structures, so how can we use EdTech? How can we use what we've learned in broadcasting teaching to really move it forward and create time and to keep the excellence of subject knowledge and keep the excellence in teaching going, but really give the teachers time and to know that they can rely on that time week on week to improve. Fundamentally, they were absolutely bought into the vision that teachers need more time for CPD and learning. Completely bought into it. We were weighed down by traditional structures and traditional practices, and we really had to think out of the box and really think about what has worked well, where is the evidence, where can we see it, what can we get people to keep people to do, and if they were doing things differently, such as TAs covering lessons and using asynchronous lessons, have we trained them properly? So we broke it down into what we'd like to achieve and then work backwards by looking at the logistical problems, the standards problems of teaching, and then the behaviour and the supervision of children as well.
It's a bit like the flipped model in the classroom, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit like a flipped learning model, but also really just seeing that we can work differently, and it does work, and taking small steps first, trialling things out, seeing if it works. That test and learn process is really important. So we put together a really clear implementation plan. So I knew my leaders weren't rushing, they weren't jumping to the end point. It was being implemented well. Communication with staff and stakeholders, particularly governors, was really, really clear. So our parents knew what we were doing and why we were doing it. Our governors knew there was a clear plan for it to achieve. Our staff and our senior leaders knew that there was ways to monitor the impact of the lessons and make sure that the quality and the standards weren't dropping. And to be honest, if I'm frank, I would say the standards are fantastic in the subjects that we've done. It hasn't dropped in any way, and I expect my senior leaders to report back on that and look at the assessment of the kids' work so we can see that happen. So it's about taking a measured approach and taking small steps. Technology really allows us to utilise some of the key things that needs to be in place logistically to allow this to happen. So that the technology allows our experts to reach a wider audience. It gives us quality in teaching and learning. It allows that, in terms of pays and conditions, it allows us to meet those requirements for support staff, but also it gives support staff confidence that they can do that, and the support staff have become even more confident to deliver learning. They've really enjoyed it. We've had several people who've said, "Do you know what, I want to be a teacher from this," and they've joined our skit, and that's been fantastic. So I think the technology empowers people to do that and learn in just different ways, and the fact that you can stop and start a lesson, you can come back to a lesson. We've got that as archived. We can use it for flipped learning. We can use it for a station rotation model where children can come back to. It's also there for inside of our team. So those children who are really into computing or might be a real artist can come back to those lessons and re-access them again and use them to take their own learning on further. First of all, it worked because we got buy-in from the Trust Board. Secondly, we got buy-in from our senior leaders to put the structure together, and then we worked with head teachers to get a consultation model so that we could work together to make it happen on the ground. Then the next point of making it work was that clear communication strategy and implementation plan, so we knew what we were doing, the monitoring points, the evaluation points, so that we knew there was going to be problems, and there was teething problems, and we picked those up and we could intervene in a timely manner so that it could be revised and developed so it had impact. And I think it's just about having that vision and that decision that it must happen. We have to do something, and I don't think 2 hours is enough. I don't think we're doing enough teaching development time. Hoping as we evolve in the future that we will have ways of releasing more time for teachers for learning, so that it can impact on children as well, and we can use specialist teaching more and specialist project learning more, and I think that will be our next phase. So I think teacher development time's next phase really will be about project-based learning, about a specialist teacher who does a small input to set up a project across our trust, and then having children work together through different locations on projects together through teams, and then we'll use our staff to facilitate those projects in different ways so we can release people hopefully further. I think flexible working is very much interlinked to teacher development time. We've noticed that because we've had our specialist teachers who applied for jobs and really enjoyed the fact that they can go even at primary level into a deep subject knowledge part of teaching, so that's been interesting. I think it also does allow more flexibility because it doesn't mean that every lesson has to be covered by a teacher. We can have high quality content designed and delivered by a teacher that is recorded asynchronously but can be facilitated by other members of staff. So I think it will change the nature and some structures of some of the staffing in the school and some of the way we structure learning, but I think that will be an evolution process over time, but I think it will support flexible working.